Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, last known classic. This is episode number 2390 and Doubleshot number 2284. I have pretty much basically two trades in two different series where the original start date for these series both started back in the 1970s, and plus also this one character fights DC's counterpart over at Marvel. But first up, we have Alan Moore's The Saga of Swamp Thing Book 5, the penultimate trade to collect issues from his run. Collecting issues 51-56 of Swamp Thing Volume 2. This is the beginning of the end of Alan Moore's run for the book. The very next trade is the end of his run. Now, pretty much what happens here is that what happened in the last trade is that Abigail Arcane, who was arrested as Abigail Cable because despite the fact I think she's divorced from her husband, Matthew Cable, they arrest her as she identified herself as Abigail Holland, but the legally she's referred to as that other name, Cable, and the whole thing is involving a picture. Like, what charges does she have against her? It's quite stupid. Like, she's arrested because she formed a relationship with Swamp Thing? Yeah, that's the only reason why they arrest her. Yeah, it's some bullcrap charge. Yeah, and people accuse her of being a child molester. And she's like, no, I'm not. That's a big fat lie. So, yeah, then she flees. Ends up in Gotham City, where it's like there's mention about Arkham Asylum, there's cameos by Joker and Two-Face. Batman gets involved in the story. Yeah, and then Swamp Thing shows up at the courthouse, the Gotham City courthouse, and demands his wife be released. And of course, basically, he's calmed down. He says, I'll give you 1 hour to release my wife. And he leaves. And Batman talks to the mayor of Gotham City, points out, though, the charges against Abigail Holland are bullcrap. Like, oh, she's someone not human. He's like, really? What about Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, Superman? Should they be arrested too? And mayor's like, give me Washington right away. And the charges are dropped. And she's reunited with Swamp Thing, and then some stupid idiots fire freaking bombs at Swamp Thing, blowing him up. Like, oh, there's like essence, they think he's there. Except this is not actually Swamp Thing, it's some husk. It turns out Swamp Thing was sent to space. Where? To the freaking moon. Yeah. But this is good. I enjoyed this. This actually was quite interesting. Unlike the last, there seems like not a lot of stuff happening. By the way, the artwork in here is done by Rick Bach, who actually took over the writer after Alan Moore left the book. Yes, he took a writer book for a few years. Also, John Telba and Free Ikea. Now, the cover is still done by, the original cover is done by Stephen Bassi. This, I'm sure you probably this is cover too, but this is, of course, still really good. Surprisingly, this is only about 6 issues. This is actually one of the shorter trades they have for this run. I'm going to give the book a 9.5 out of 10. Next up is something, this is, like, it released in the 70s, but here's the thing about this book. This bit of legalese stuff basically involving this trade, especially since there's only 1 or 2 released to collect this run, because there's so much legal stuff related to this run that for decades, Marvel could not collect this in trade. All because of one character who appears in this very book, even though that was actually an alias later on, and his real name was Zhao Zhu. Yeah, because apparently we have the book known as The Master of Kung Fu Epic Collection, Book 1 of 2, because there's only 2 ever released, because the third one was canceled. Why? Because somehow the license got screwed up with this thing. This book collects Special Marvel Edition issues 15-16, Master Kung Fu 1728, Giant Size Master Kung Fu 1 through 4, Giant Size number 2, and the Iron Man Annual. Now, what is the legalese stuff on here? You see, the reason why this book apparently for the longest time could not be collected in trade because of who Shang-Chi's father is. Who is Shang-Chi's father in this book? Fu Manchu! Yes, because somehow Marvel lost the license, they couldn't reprint the series. Excuse me, everything around Fu Manchu is all owned by Marvel Comics. It's similar was with ROM, but ROM recently just announced recently that they're finally collecting that in trade. Yes, they're finally giving the Marvel years run for the Marvel run for ROM Space Knight that finally gets collected. Thanks to a new license deal with, of course, Hasbro, that they finally get a chance to just do a trade. Not do a new series per se, but just to collect the old run and trade. Like everything related to ROM, including there was an issue of Power Man Iron Fist, Incredible Hulk, and I think it was like a few other comics he appeared in as a cameo. And of course, they're finally collected in trade. But I'm glad that was sorted out. But this is something else. Now, of course, they can tell by Shang-Chi he wears his attire, where it looks like a Kung Fu outfit, and he's got no shoes. Though later on, he did wear shoes. Don't worry about that. This outfit he wears on the cover. He actually wore this outfit for pretty much the entire series. And then when he retired, now, by the way, the reason why the numbering continues with issue 17 is because Marvel, this is one of those times Marvel actually continued another series numbering. Case in point, Marvel Special Edition. Marvel Special Edition from Live Rev for the first, look up the first 14 issues. It's a reprint book. Yes, and then finally they said, oh, let's do something new. Create this brand new character of Shang-Chi who basically is a slave to his own father. Then he rebels against his father. And that's pretty much the gist of the series. And this book shockingly lasted until issue 125. Now, this book only went to 128. Now, if you're really curious what time period this book covers, get this, December 1973. And here's something interesting, though. This book came out mostly put once every, it seems like for the start, it seems like once every couple months. And eventually, after a very brief period of time, the series will come out monthly. We start, like I said, December 1973. We conclude, damn stupid thing. Just a point record. We finally conclude with, of course, the 28 Master Kung Fu in May of 1975. But for some reason, they also included the Iron Man Annual. A number 4. Now, the writing here is mostly with Steve Englehart, Doug Moa, Jim Starlin, Jerry Conway, the late Lee Wein, Roger Stern. Now, Jim Starlin does some artwork here with Paul Galassi on the artwork. Yeah, that's one of his more better books he worked on. The artwork also by Ron Wilson, Al Milgrom, Ross Udrew, Keith Pellard. Really got to review a lot of his work for Iron Man. Alan Weiss, Walt Simonson, John Bushman, Ed Hannigan, Audrey Brentford, P.K. Russell, Frank Magallan, and Jeff Ackley. This front cover here, that's Jim Starlin, Al Milgrom, and the color is by Dean White. This is, of course, John Bushma with, of course, Joe Sennett. If you're curious, Joe Sennett, I think he was the inker of the book. Now, mostly put basically, like I mentioned, you have Shang-Chi make his debut in issue 15, and that's Fu Manchu. Yes. Now, here's something interesting, though, about this book. At first, Steve Englehart was the writer of this book, and then, of course, they switched over to Doug Moak. If you're really curious, though, how long did Steve Englehart write this book for before passing off to Doug? Me. Let's find out, shall we? Here we go. Okay, so he just leaves after the first 3 issues. Yeah, he doesn't finish the book up. Yeah, do not know why that he left the book, but he did. He got replaced by Doug Moak. Yeah. Yeah, he made create Shang-Chi, but yeah. But then pretty much with issue number 20 starts off it says his 8-year run of the book, and he would do almost the entire series from issue 21 forward. I think he skipped one issue, but here's the issue he skipped. He's over 21 and then end this book into issue 122. That was his last issue he did for the book. And he would continue the book even after that, doing a one-shot on E1 called Bleeding Black, a miniseries in 2001 to 2002, 2003, the Hellfire Apocalypse miniseries, and that was it. Here's the issues you skip. You skip issue 53, 64, 102, and 121. Started in 1984, and he finished the run in 1983. You might be asking, did he do Giant Size Master Kung Fu? Yes, he did. Did he do Giant Size Spider-Man? No, that was somebody else. Yeah, and here's the strange thing about this book. Despite the fact this character is set in the Marvel Universe, only like a couple books basically actually haven't encountered anybody outside of his own book. One was, of course, when Giant had Spider-Man number 2, which I believe that was the first time Spider-Man met Shang-Chi, and of course the Iron Man Annual. This first issue obviously is the debut of Shang-Chi himself and Fu Manchu. Yes. Yeah, though this is later not to be Fu Manchu, just an alias. Because of legal reasons. So, I at least appreciate the artwork. And then pretty much we have the debut of the character Midnight, who later became a regular foe for Moon Knight. Because Doug created a character, so they want to keep the character going. So yeah. Now, there's also one other character associated with him. Called Razor Fist. Yes. Yeah, Razor Fist made a debut. Actually, not in this trade here. Nope. That will come a little bit later. Yeah. It's strange, though, that the next volume has debut of Razor Fist, but he's not in this book. Yeah, aside from Midnight, there's, like, no other major character. And mostly put, he is questioned about the whole thing. Like, look, here's issue 17, the start of his own run. Yeah, mostly put, he fights whatever thug. Because of the fact he rebelled against his own father, he basically is, like, watching over his shoulder. And that's pretty much the premise of this whole book. It's just him fighting various people throughout the book. But the issue 19 has the first account of the Marvel Universe. I almost kind of forgot about. I mentioned before. Here is Shang-Chi fighting Man-Thing, Marvel's counterpart to Swamp Thing. But here's something different between Man-Thing and Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing has had humongous amount of success over the years with multiple volumes. As a matter of fact, the last volume came out just fairly recently by Ram V, a writer I met. I really love his run. Man-Thing has not had this successful time with comics. Yes, between the two of them, Man-Thing is basically, some people think is like a watered-down version of Swamp Thing. But, I mean, the only thing he has in common with, of course, Swamp Thing is the fact they have very similar backstories. Yeah, Swamp Thing was murdered by terrorists. Him was kind of very similar, except he crashed his car into a swamp and became Man-Thing. And Ted Salas, he's a scientist. Now, that's another thing they both have in common. They're both scientists, and they're both stuck in their forms. Except that when Alan Moore took over the book... Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention in the Swamp Thing book, he does encounter one of his old arch enemies, the Pharaonic Man, who started out as a villain for Ray Palmer. Yep. I love the story in here. I think this book is just a lot of fun. Samurai! Yep. The book is just pure fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I'm going to give this book a 10 out of 10. One more trade left to go for this. And sadly, that's it. And you're thinking, really? Yes, really. Yeah, that's the thing about Shang-Chi. Now, there is an omnibus that collects this run. Yes. Yes, there is. Which that did collect the whole run. Yes, I thought this was the only thing. Nope, this was different. Yeah, so there's an omnibus that does collect this whole run. It does. There was a Shang-Chi to help us recently, but that ended. Yeah, basically they had like a there was a Shang-Chi book they continued from their volume, which of course the previous one was kind of part of the numbering. That book ended after like a year and it got relaunched as Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and then concluded the one shot Shang-Chi Master of the Ten Rings. Yep. So, yeah, with that, I pretty much reviewed the issue 28. So when it comes to honest book, it's still kind of book one. Basically, book one's mostly done. So I'd say with book two, when I get a chance to view it, I will finish up that book and go through a little bit into book two. As for if in fact I'll get my hands on, like if I get a chance to find these more omnibus, I'm not sure about that. That depends. Yep. So yeah, that's the particular view. Next up is Walmart. Another comic corner. I think calling night. Okay, let's see you. Bye.